Did you know that this script is longer than your average enhanced armament command? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to know since the anime skips the chance, but it's actually true. Alicization Rising continues as Kirito and Eugeo meet Fizel and Linel and have a less tiring trip up to floor 50 rather than climbing all the stairs, and the clickbait statements of a Fox-like YouTuber claiming the previous episode was the best fight of 2019 only managed to live a week as our heroes face the Knight of the Blazing Sun, the Vice Commander of the Integrity Knights, Fanatio Synthesis 2. Welcome everyone, this is Sword Art Online Alicization Explained featuring episode 15, The Relentless Knight. Wait, what? How does one even translate Knight of the Blazing Sun into Relentless Knight? And anyways, as always, timestamps to individual plot points are in the description as well as the pinned comment for easy navigation, but to give you a quick rundown, we got a couple of considerable drops in this episode, but I have to say, for once, I feel like the dropped scenes more or less benefited the episode significantly, mainly on the pacing and the intensity of the scenes. And that also allows me to share this valuable information here, while also keeping the episode incredibly exciting overall. But with the overview out of the way, if you are new to my Explain series, what I do here is essentially provide you all the vital information on characters, events, action, lore from the source material, light novels, things that the anime did not convey properly, or just did not have the time to, so you can still see the full picture. But then again, if you want to read the books for yourself for the amazing experience, Amazon and Book Depository affiliate links are in the description down below, and the knowledge of Stacia awaits you there. Also, a brand new giveaway is live for the duration of the upcoming month. Click the link in the description and enter through various actions to win Sword Art Online Volume 14, Alicization Uniting, the end of the first half of Alicization's story. But without further ado, this week we covered more of Volume 12 Alicization Rising, Chapter 8, Part 2 and Part 2 only. We didn't even finish that section, but in terms of content we were mostly on par with around 40 pages being adapted. And let's start with the changes to the opening, so I don't need to have a break in the middle to talk about it during the course of the story. Yes, we did receive some minor changes to the opening, some enhancements to the visual here and there, but the first of the two changes being that the OP now features the subtitle Episode Alicization Rising, and let's be real, I'm gonna riot if this stays for an entire duration of the core, even when we are going through dividing and uniting. Like, come on Avon, I know you have a project file, I know it does not take the slightest bit of effort going in, changing the text and re-rendering the sequence every 4 episodes, so please change the text accordingly when the time comes. Second change is more major than that. Last week, we had Eugeo and Kirito swinging their swords in a fog symbolizing a future event in the story. This bit has been replaced with an event from early V13, Alicization Dividing, showcasing the fight between Eugeo and Berkuli Synthesis 1. But for everything else regarding the symbolism in the OP, you can refer to my opening explained video by clicking the icon in the top right. But here we go with the actual contents of the episode, starting with the deadly twins, Fizel Synthesis 29 and Linel Synthesis 28. The scene with the twins was adapted quite accurately, albeit slightly shortened. In the books, the duo extensively tried to analyze Kirito and Eugeo to figure out if they were really humans, and watching the kids, Eugeo actually couldn't hold back but grinned towards the kids, seeing how intrigued they were because he could see the parallels between the twins and the duo that he was with Kirito. Linel was more shy and hanging in the back, while Fizel, much like Kirito, was actively investigating the subject that they thought were demons without being scared one bit. In fact, Eugeo was certain that if he had a childhood with Kirito by his side, they would be doing exactly the same when everyone was ordered to lock themselves into their rooms. Much like Fizel's statement, everyone is ordered to stay in their rooms, so there is nobody around to catch us. Eugeo knew that would be the exact same sentence Kirito would say if they were in a similar situation. And upon Eugeo letting go a smile, the kids saw that these demons they were promised did not even have sharp teeth and were in fact humans, and thus asked to inspect a little closer. Though a very key detail here is that Kirito lets Eugeo speak to the kids, claiming that he is better with kids, however he is purposefully lying to Eugeo here. As we would otherwise know if the Zakaria chapter was not cut, Kirito is extremely clever at figuring out the tricks these kinds of kids use solely because he would do the exact same things, he just has the mindset, and in fact this is exactly what he does here. The scene hides Kirito's face in every single cut here for a reason. Kirito essentially knew beforehand that the kids spelled trouble and wanted to analyze the situation, and pushing Eugeo to handle the kids without telling him the exact reason behind, thus not allowing him to do anything out of panic or nervousness, he was able to observe everything from behind, while Fizel and Linel were completely focused on Eugeo. But we'll get to his conclusions and actions in a bit. Right before paralyzing Kirito and Eugeo, the twins actually complimented them a lot after Eugeo shared that he was in the tower to get back a friend Axiom Church had taken from him. The twins really emphasized with his goal a lot and praised them, mentioning that unlike the people taking their cases to the Axiom Church when their loved ones were taken from them, but Kirito and Eugeo were the first ones to actually make it to inside the church, let alone had defeated 2 Integrity Knights already. And that was the last peaceful moment the duo had as the twins introduced themselves. But hey, at least now the duo are being carried up to the 50th floor instead of having to climb themselves, although I love the fact that they went ahead and even animated the part where Eugeo's head is dangling off of every single step of the stairs that was specifically mentioned in the novels. This episode was animated wonderfully, especially the movements of Fizel and Linel in my opinion. Some of you may be asking why the twins actually shared their entire backstory and skills with Kirito and Eugeo, and well, they were certain nothing would go wrong, and Fizel simply thought it would be too boring to climb to the 50th floor, so she simply decided to let them know everything. However, certain bits from their backstory was omitted and changed in the anime. As they were going up, something they mentioned in the books was supposed to give you an idea as to what death actually was in Underworld. They mentioned that when you die, you see bright arrow-like lights approaching your head, and obviously those arrows in reality are the electrical impulses in real world approaching their light cube to delete the contents of their floodlight to free up the storage. And while it is not explicitly stated in the books, as we experience these bits from a perspective of an Underworldian, it's pretty clear as to why the kids say one clean hit is painless and offers higher success rate for resurrection. That simply has to do with the floodlight acceleration and the reaction time for resurrection. If you resurrect too late, in real world the electrical impulses would be able to already delete a certain part of your floodlight, or maybe all of it, at which point the resurrection would effectively have lost its purpose. You know, partially deleted data is technically corrupted data, and resurrecting based on corrupted data is essentially useless. But if you kill in one hit and instantly react to resurrect, there is essentially no danger, or at least low danger, considering how fast the time passes in Underworld. The second major drop, however, was how the twins actually became Integrity Knights. You see, the anime says the reason Fizel and Linel became Integrity Knights because they survived the experiments, however that is not entirely true. The twins had the calling of assisting in the research, and when Quinella abandoned the research, they needed to pick a new calling, and their choice was to become Integrity Knights. However, this request was not granted by the Axiom Church Senate, as Integrity Knights were supposedly not humans and descended from the heavens per the administrator's call. But the senators agreed to let the kids fight the real Synthesis 28 and 29 to death for the title. Although the twins no longer remember the actual names of 28 and 29, that did not really matter anymore. They had succeeded and they had been crowned Integrity Knights at that point. And this instance is exactly why Fanatio and the other Integrity Knights have a severe distaste towards twins when they arrive on floor 50. But the Knights did not need to do anything, as Kirito's plan had already worked and he had shaken off the paralysis early. You know, it was actually very simple to realize the twins were lying about the identity when they first introduced themselves as sisters in training. All monks and sisters were ordered to remain locked. However, if they were really sisters, then the right eye seal would ultimately prevent them from disobeying the rule. And the only people that were allowed to be around were the Integrity Knights to prevent Kirito and Eugeo's rise through the tower. And well, Kirito explains the rest perfectly well here, and how he stood back to analyze the situation, and his face was never shown during the scene because he was simply chanting at that moment. But this is followed by the fight against the 4 whirling blades of Fanatio, and it's over this quick. But yeah, let's go back into the character. In the novels, the whirling blades had an entire fight sequence to them. In fact, it was incredibly elaborate in general. Right at the beginning of the fight, Kirito recognized that Fanatio started chanting its perfect weapon control command and lunged forward to break her chant, but one of the whirling blades deflected his approach and pushed him back. It was a heavy attack with a heavy sword, so Kirito now had the perfect opportunity to take out the knight due to it being stuck in post-skill delay, but just when he tried to do that, the second whirling knight attacked, followed by the third and fourth. The whirling blades all possessed large weapons with long post-skill delays, but they were a well-oiled machine. While Kirito had combo attacks, whirling blades themselves were the combos. But Kirito had already figured out their patterns. As mentioned, they were one big combo following the lead of the first knight. Whatever he does, the rest followed to not break the chain, because if they did break the chain set up by the leader, there was no way they could coordinate properly. The next time it was his turn, the leader swung horizontally and Kirito slid under his legs to evade. The second was right behind him, swinging to impale Kirito lying on the ground. But Kirito had not just tried to slide under the leader, he had grabbed the legs and pulled them on top of himself, and the second knight, coming with a giant swing, he was not able to stop midway mind you, impaled the leader lying below. Kirito grabbed the second knight's arm and pulled him to his front, and the third one, that was just about to start his swing, now had to stop before impaling number 2. Kirito had just essentially outsmarted the walking combo knights and halted their chain. But just when he heard the first half of the enhanced armament command by Fanatio, Kirito used his Aincrad-style lunging sword skill, Sonic Leap. But he was too late, as he got injured by a beam of light coming from the sword of the knight on his leaping skill, causing him to change trajectory and barely managing to cut off a wing of Fanatio's helmet. It was the heaven-piercing blade, one of the experiments of Queen Ella to create the most powerful weapons possible for her Integrity Knights. It was a sword created by 1,000 mirrors to use the power of Solus on a singular focus. But that also meant the beam that injured him was essentially pure light, and he had one counter to that in order to close the distance and force Fanatio into close quarters, where the knight would not be able to take the advantage of the beams. Eugeo could only hear the final command that Kirito was whispering at that point. Discharge, he commanded the elements he generated to form a small mirror. While the mirror was not powerful enough to give him a chance to push back as intended, it had reflected enough to break the helmet of the knight, revealing the face of Fanatio Synthesis II, the female vice commander of the Integrity Knights, the face that she did her best to hide due to her past. Ever since the day she had faced Vixul Urshasta, a commander from the Dark Territory, who looked down upon her and did not take her seriously after her gender was revealed. But that piece of information was a weapon for Kirito to destabilize Fanatio and eventually get to her. So throughout the entire fight, he continued to trigger her further by drawing emphasis to her feminine nature, mocking her for combing her hair and using lipstick that she had to be doing for a certain someone after all. Deep down, she did want to impress a certain person, her number one, dressed in casual blue robes for over 100 years, and the recent arrival of a more powerful and more beautiful knight in golden armor who did not hide her features only made Fanatio more desperate. But no matter how much he spoke, Kirito's actions were clear and there was a smile on Fanatio's face. For the first time, she felt like someone is truly fighting to take her down. She was happy to have found an opponent that she deemed worthy and one that respected her as a swordsman, but she rejected the notion provided by Kirito regarding the Axiom Church. She apologized for resorting to a shameful technique, trying to take her opponent down while also knowing she would be sacrificing herself as well, and release recollection. A technique so powerful that even the vice commander of the Integrity Knights could not control it, as the heaven-piercing blade shone with bright light and started launching beams all around the hall, injuring the enemy, ally, and the wielder herself. The ones closest, Fanatio and Kirito, were taking lethal damage, and while Kirito tried to block the heaven-piercing blade, Eugeo knew it was time. Bloom, blue roses. A field of ice appeared, freezing everything in their path, heading straight for the vice commander Fanatio, immobilizing her as Kirito jumped to safety with lethal damage. This was their last chance. Despite the pain, Kirito started chanting his perfect weapon control, but Fanatio was too powerful. even covered in vines, she lifted the heaven-piercing blade aiming straight at Eugeo and Kirito. But Kirito, on the other hand, was incredibly calm. Much like Eugeo, he had a clear purpose, a purpose that he would keep walking towards until he was dead. As the power of Solus that banished the Dark God Vector from the human realm headed towards him, Kirito opened his eyes with one final command: enhance armament. And that brings us to the end of episode 15, Night of the Blazing Sun. I really love the way how most of these key and impactful dialogues are literally word by word from the novels. Kirito's explanation to Fizel and Linel, Kirito and Fanatio's dialogues, and of course the final piece of advice by Kirito to Eugeo. And to be frank, Matsuoka-san is once again doing a brilliant job as the Black Swordsman, as he always does. You can really hear every single bit of emotion in his voice, no matter the circumstance. And these key moments definitely benefited from the incredible animation quality. Some people say that the animation dipped a little in certain scenes in today's episode, but it needs to be mentioned that visuals are a tool to convey a story, emotions, much like voice acting, dialogues, and music is. If you look back at the episode, the scenes that had the most beautiful animation were the key moments in the episode. Fizel and Linel's animation right before they paralyzed Kirito and Eugeo, the animation during Kirito and Fanatio's fight, as well as the final moment of the episode when Kirito is talking to Eugeo. And it's most definitely not a coincidence that all of these top animation moments coincide with the bits that were taken straight from the novels word by word. They really did an absolutely amazing job this week. If I had to complain, it would be the whirling blades being turned into set props, just watching the duel as Kirito rushed past them. Like, I feel like Zakaria all over again. If you're not gonna make them serve a purpose, you can just cut them off from the story. It's not like whirling blades are at all vital to this scene, they are just an obstacle. And if you're not gonna show them being an obstacle, then I don't know, maybe just don't have them as set props. It looked kinda stupid that they were ordered to not meddle with the fight just because Kirito managed to clash swords with Fanatio in 5 seconds, but talking more extensively about it would be a disservice to this incredible episode. I believe this is the one episode that I talked so much regarding my opinion so far, and believe me, I do mean it. Last week was amazing, this week, albeit having more dropped scenes, was even better in my opinion, and I am not saying that lightly. Episode 15 was the episode that I had the best time so far with in the entire Alicization run, even more than the likes of the Zephylia Flowers episode, for example. But yeah, I know from my analytics that not many of you stay for the opinions bit, so this much should suffice. Next episode is titled The Osmanthus Night, for those who follow the official translations, or The Fragrant Olive Night for those following the fan translations, which means we're coming to the end of Volume 12, Alicization Rising, and are getting ready for V13, Alicization Dividing, as we'll be meeting Alice again and spend more time with her. But if you made it this far, do comment Blazing Sun of the Heaven Piercing Blade in the comments to let me know that you made it this far. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, by the time this video goes up, my Volume 13 Alicization Uniting giveaway should be up for you to join, so do check the description or the pinned comment. You can also find Amazon and Book Depository affiliate links for the Sword Art Online novels, manga and games, and more in the description as well. Hope you enjoyed this week's Alicization Explained. Thank you very much for watching. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more on Sword Art Online, hit the bell icon to get notified. Huge thanks to my patrons as usual, and I'll see you next time. Stay cool.